Just when I finish my to-do list,
We need more chips, Mom.
Honey, I need a lot of chicken.
something else comes up. That's when I use Instacart to help get everything we need from BJ's Wholesale Club delivered right to our door in as fast as 1 hour. And then finally I can relax.
Mom, I think we're out of toilet paper.
Time for another BJ's order. Download the Instacart app or visit instacart.com to get $10 off your first order using the code BJ's Wholesale 10. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $35. Additional terms apply.
This is Legal Live with Eddie and Chuck Farah. They're talking the latest legal news and answering your questions. To call Legal Live and ask Eddie and Chuck a question, grab your phone and dial 855-765-1045. That's 855-765-1045.
Welcome to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm Sheifalika, and today I'm joined by two attorneys from the Farah and Farah franchise. We've got Matt Grossman and Tom Normandeau live in studio with you guys. Feel free to give us a call today. We'd love to hear from you. Our number is 855-765-1045. All right, gentlemen, how is your Saturday going? How are you doing?
Doing well. We've got some big shoes to fill today with Chuck and Eddie being out, so we're hoping to live up to that.
Nice. That's right. Yeah.
Doing really good.
So let's see. What type of specialty do you do at your firm?
So we both handle personal injury cases, which deals with car wrecks, slip and falls, really anything that involves any sort of injuries. We've got a department devoted to workers' compensation, which is where people are hurt at work. So we've kind of become a jack of all trades, and certainly if we can't help for whatever reason, we've got certainly the resources to get people where they need to go to make sure they get the help they need for whatever their legal problems are.
That's really cool, Matt. So I know Tom has done the show before. You haven't. Are you nervous?
This is my first time, yeah. So we actually had a conversation in the break room beforehand, and I guessed the listenership being a few thousand, where you quickly reminded me that was very wrong and much larger. So no pressure there.
We have a lot of listeners, and we love them all.
Yeah, I'm just assuming it's just my wife and kids, so that's how I'm going to be able to.
That's how I think about it, too. Like, just my dad, that's it.
Exactly.
All right, gentlemen. So let's talk about some interesting personal injury stories. Do you have any? It's the summertime. We live in Florida. There are lots of travel.
Sure.
And cruises and, stuff, people taking time off from work.
Yep.
Do you have any interesting stories that you'd like to share or any lessons from the field?
Matt was telling me about a pretty cool cruise ship fight. I
Yeah,
guess not cool, but interesting.
I'm going to out myself here a little bit that I don't get my news from mainstream. I get it from TMZ, so that may change where it's coming from.
We need to dump those last 12 seconds. He did not say that on WOKV. We are a real news station. No, don't dump it. That was a joke, Tom. Okay.
No, but my news came from somewhere that really focuses more on kind of the crazy stories, and this one was certainly one of them. It was actually a Carnival cruise ship out of Jacksonville. There was a brawl on board. I think it involved 60 passengers.
60 people.
60 people, 60 involved.
That is a brawl.
And so what's so interesting about it, though, is cruise ships are like their own world when it comes to injuries, both from an injury standpoint for lawsuits and also for criminal situations, because you're not really on U.S. soil in a lot of ways, and so they're handled in such a different way.
Is it maritime law or what?
Yeah, so
how do you decide that?
Yeah, so what's so interesting about cruise ship cases, especially when there's injuries involved, when you buy your ticket, there's a contract on there, and that contract says normally in Florida you have 4 years to bring a personal injury action. So if you slip and fall on the boat, if you get hurt while you're on an excursion, you got typically if that were to happen at a hotel here in Florida or at a gas station, you'd have 4 years. On a cruise ship, you've got 1 year to bring it. You only have 1 year, and you're required to bring it in Miami, no matter where you're from, where the cruise went out of. Most cruise ships require you to file suit in Miami, Florida, and within 1 year.
That's right here at home.
Yeah. So it makes it really unique of a situation where if you get hurt on board of a cruise ship, your rights are very, very different than had you gotten hurt pretty much anywhere else in the States.
So,
and what happened in that case? There was a fight that broke out between the bystanders?
Yeah, so without getting into kind of the nitty gritty of the drama, I guess, on board, I'm sure it involves wives and girlfriends and people saying things they shouldn't have, but and probably involves some alcohol if I had to take a shot in the dark. But it just became this big brawl. And what's so interesting oftentimes are these cruise ships don't love to work with local authorities when it comes to these prosecutions because they don't really love the news that surrounds convictions and criminal indictments that come with things that happen on the boat. So, you know, that can make those situations really, really scary.
So do you think that would kind of turn into something like a negligent security case? How do you get after the cruise ship itself?
Yeah, so that's a super interesting question and sort of a developing field in a lot of ways is, you know, what's the cruise ship's responsibility to the passengers? I mean, certainly there's negligence on the guy who threw the punch, but when it comes to the cruise ship's duty, there is a duty to provide a reasonably safe place for your patrons. And part of that is having the security there for when these sort of situations start. They're limited to 2 to 3 people, not 60. And so where where was the security? Where was the help to mitigate this problem?
Well, they have needed to discuss, use security cameras or like eyewitness testimony from their own cruise security system.
Right, and that's a big thing that they talk about too. Is oftentimes they don't want to turn that surveillance over because they don't want those videos being viral on YouTube and whatnot, and they don't want to be associated with the cruise ship being anything other than a fun party environment and turning into these kind of scary, dangerous places.
And I think it's because it's a party environment is why they should know better that it could happen. You got a lot of people drinking on a boat, gambling in a small place for a couple of days. It's hot. And, different things happen. People will kind of go crazy eventually. So,
and then where do you take them? Right?
Exactly. There's no
jail.
Go walk it off.
Right.
A brig someplace.
You go to the other side of the boat.
Down at the bottom.
Yep. So they've got. I think they always have a kind of an onboard jail, if you will.
They do.
When you got 60 people involved, there's not a whole lot you can do, and you're kind of contained there. So that can make it a little scary. But, that also makes it so challenging for, bringing those lawsuits too. If you're going to bring something against a cruise ship for any reason, being able to be within that 1-year statute and also dealing with maritime law, which is a really unique animal in a lot of ways.
Yeah, or even knowing if you have a case. I mean, because you might just think you were in the middle of a fight and that was the end of it. You don't realize that there was actually some responsibilities that the operator had, and that so you got to ask. If you don't ask attorneys, you probably won't know about stuff that's unique. I mean, a rear end collision you kind of get. There's something wrong.
There's party A hits party B, and then there's maybe traffic cameras or other evidence to show. Yeah. But if you're on a boat, and so who would be held liable? The cruise line, the captain of the ship, the security team? I mean, because I'm sure within those 60 people, there were plenty of bystanders who got involved in this fight that weren't willing participants in the original brawl. Right. So how do you claim damages, medical damages, or personal injury in that type of situation? We don't even know who may have started it.
Right. And I think oftentimes that's why you're targeting the corporation instead of maybe the individuals who threw the punches, is because when it comes to getting compensated for the medical bills and the damages that are inflicted, oftentimes the guy involved or the individuals involved don't have the financial resources to pay whatever sort of judgment may be there.
Right. Well, I think that's a really interesting topic, Matt. Thanks for bringing that up. And we're about to go to break right now. So we will come back and maybe discuss some new personal injury stories or things that we can get from the field. Thank you for listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah. Give us a call at 855-765-1045. You're listening to WOKV Jacksonville's News and Talk. Welcome back to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm Sheifalika, and I'm joined today by two incredible gentlemen from the Farah and Farah law firm. We've got Matt Grossman and Tom Normandeau. So, gentlemen, we have a couple of callers on the line. Let's get right to it. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right. So first we've got Elizabeth in Fruit Cove, who has bought a couple of puppies and something went wrong. Let's talk. What's going on, Elizabeth?
Hi. Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Back in May, we bought 2 Lyme puppies from a breeder in Pennsylvania. we did our due diligence. We had long talks with the owner and spoke to several of the owners of some of the previous litters. So we were very comfortable in purchasing these puppies. About 2-3 weeks into having the puppies, I would say around June 9th or 8th, one of the puppies, Abby, came down with, it was something that she developed on her hind quarters, and it grew overnight. And so we took her in, and long story short, she ended up having surgery, and they removed a tumor that was in the family of the LMS, leiomyosarcoma. And consequently, they removed the tumor. The tumor has been still malignant, and she has probably 3 months to live.
Oh my goodness. Terrible. I'm so sorry, Elizabeth.
So we were wondering, is there anything that we can do? We've tried to reach out to her, and it's very sorry, for what's going on. But other than that, that's it.
That is heartbreaking, Elizabeth. Tell us about kind of the purchase itself. What's so sad about, and I've got a little golden doodle, and I'm a big dog person, and unfortunately, and this is true in most states, they treat animals as under kind of a property law, which I think is terrible. But what was sort of the contract? Was there anything written when you purchased the dogs? Talk to me about the purchase process.
What? Well, I think we bought her by using PayPal. Is that correct?
No, we did not.
So I think we got her through. Do you remember how we purchased her? Okay, we paid cash. Okay, I'm sorry.
Was there any paperwork between the two? Was there anything that was signed? Anything like that?
Whatever the breeder gave to my wife, that was the only thing that we received from her. We had a verbal, a guarantee of the pups that they had, I think a couple months, that if for any reason they had bills that exceeded their any medical conditions that they had or anything else like that, they would pay up the amount of the money that was paid out for the pups. So in other words, we paid $1,200. They would not exceed that amount of money for any medical expenses.
Was any of that in an email or text messages and communication like that?
Yeah, it was verbal. It was verbal.
And did you guys go up to Pennsylvania, I think you said, to purchase?
No, she actually was visiting her mother in Ormond Beach, and she actually brought the dogs down with her on the flight that she took, and everything was through, was given cash through when we were at Ormond Beach with her. So the sale was made in the state of Florida at Ormond Beach.
I think you mentioned that there has been some communication, her sending her condolences and things like that. So are they being responsive in any way?
No, not anymore. Once they found out that there was a terminal illness for the pup, it's been crickets.
Sure.
So
and she actually had a Facebook page, and that's been taken down.
Oh wow.
So
yeah, it's such an unfortunate situation. You want to enforce these agreements, but to be able to do so, it's got to be in writing in some way, which you don't have here. You've got an oral agreement. What you can try to do would be to reach out to her, whether by text message or an email or even a letter at first, to see if she'll confirm that that was actually the agreement, something along the lines of, as you know, when we purchased these dogs, that you would agree if the medical bills got to be to a certain point, you would compensate us for the rest. Please confirm whether or not you're agreeing to do this, and see if you can't get her to confirm that that was in fact the agreement, and then try to enforce it later on. But it's going to be a real uphill battle. The other option would be, sending her a certified letter that says, pursuant to our agreement, here's the bills that we've had to pay for for this dog's treatment, and we're asking you to pay, X amount of dollars per our agreement, and see if she'll honor it, But as far as any legal recourse, it's going to be a real uphill battle because there's nothing in writing.
Would a lawyer's hand in this, as far as a person writing a letter to them, would that have more weight than just us sending a certified letter or anything else like that? At least she knows it is going, it's escalated to a higher level.
I think you start with the communication with the person and see if you can reason with them before you bring an attorney in. This, like Matt was saying, animals are considered property, so you're going to have a limited amount of recovery that you can make here, and adding an attorney into the situation might not make sense at first, but that's where you got to kind of test the waters and see how they're going to act and react. Did they give you any paperwork on the shots and stuff that they gave the dog before?
Yes,
we have 3 pages worth of the shots and the dogs, the mother and father. So we have all of that.
There's no
and she's been doing
in that paperwork saying, good for an X period of time or anything, right?
No, it's just all verbal.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where it's oftentimes better to try to resolve it amongst yourselves, because, like Tom said, bringing in a lawyer can add such an additional expense. Oftentimes with these businesses, they're so cognizant of their online reviews and those sort of things, and so oftentimes they'll try to make things right to avoid negative reviews. But it sounds like with her pulling her Facebook page down and things, that she may have sort of packed up shop and won't be as worried about that. So it sounds like it's going to be a real uphill battle.
Have you checked other venues? I'm sorry, go ahead.
That was actually her, what she had told us, that these were the last that she was actually going to have of these dogs to breed, and she was kind of closing up shop.
Yeah.
I
think the best thing you do here is you put that letter together, you send it certified, that forces her to have to sign for it. I think people take those letters more seriously for whatever reason, and you outline, here was our agreement, here are the medical bills included in this letter, please pay us as our agreement, within the next 10 or 14 days or whatever it is, and see kind of what comes from that.
Yeah, and make sure, like Matt said, a specific time that they have to act on this. Don't leave these things open-ended. You want to hold them accountable if you can afterwards.
Well, it's the fact of the matter that she's got her head in the sand and said that this has never happened before. And, of course, the oncologist that we took the dog to said that this was, something that was genetic. And, so obviously it's probably happened in the past, and she's just not saying anything about it.
Yeah.
Sounds like she may have been overbreeding them.
Yeah, that's incredibly frustrating.
Well, that's actually she gave us several names to call prior to us making the agreement to purchase the 2 pups. And one of the people that she gave the name to said that she was glad to hear that they were not breeding anymore, because she had problems with the dog that she currently has. Wow. Not to the extent that we have, but she did have problems with her pup.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry y'all are going through this. I wish you guys the best of luck. I hope the letter wakes her up a little bit and has her come to her senses to do the right thing. And I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you so much.
We thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it so much.
Best of luck to y'all.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for calling in. That was really great, Matt and Tom. I think that it's such a tender topic when we adopt a puppy and they become a part of the family.
They
I'm also a dog
are.
person as well, so I understand this. Our heart goes out to you in Fruit Cove, Elizabeth, and we hope that 2 little ones will be okay for a little longer, but I know they're going to have plenty of love in their life. So thank you for calling in. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Give us a call at 855-765-1045. We'll be right back after this quick break. All Alrighty, welcome back to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We've got a few callers on the line, so let's jump right to it. You can give us a call, too, if you'd like, 855-765-1045. All right, gentlemen, we've got Angela from Jacksonville who has a property damage claim involving a sewage line. How's it going, Angela? Tell us all about it.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking my call today.
Thank you for calling.
First of all, sure, thanks. First of all, I just wanted to kind of give you some background about the situation that I've got going on. We purchased our home in 2010 in a large subdivision here in Jacksonville. And within the last 3 years, we've had multiple visits from plumbers to try to unclog our sewage line. Within the last 90 days, we've had 3 visits from plumbers to unclog our sewage line, and we just did a scope this week and found a fiber optic line that was piercing or going directly through our sewage line, and had to have the line replaced, and it was quite a bit of damage and pretty costly. We filed a claim with the company that uses a third-party administrator. And what we're finding is, and we've just started the claim process, but we've gone online to look at the feedback on this third-party administrator, and it looks like a lot of people in our area have had issues with this third-party administrator. They've been sitting on the claims, kind of not taking responsibility and putting it back on the company itself, and the claim is not getting resolved. So we wanted to know what type of legal recourse we have for all of the money that we put out. We're looking at about $5,000 worth of expenses that we put out so far within the last 90 days.
Wow.
My goodness.
So are there multiple people that have the same type of damage?
Yes. And actually, in our community page, there have been several people that have had the same issue. One of the persons on our community page that I reached out to was able to get the issue resolved for the subcontractor coming in and resolving the damage. And it was a situation that we could not wait, because we can't use anything in our home and wait for someone to resolve it. We had to hire someone to get it resolved.
Mm-hmm.
So there's multiple property owners with the same type of damage from one company that did the same damage over and over and over throughout an entire neighborhood?
Correct.
Okay. And then you guys are all trying to deal with one TPA at this point who's being, like a lot of TPAs act, kind of slow and deliberate in their process in order to kind of, I guess, make some of them go away.
Correct.
So, I mean, I definitely think you probably have a claim against them into some form for the property damage here. And it's really interesting that there's multiple people that are having this issue over and over. I mean, has the group gotten together other than these Facebook postings and things like that?
Only that we've had discussions on the community page about the issues that multiple homeowners in our neighborhood have had. Some have had resolution, others did not get resolution through the company. And so we're concerned because now we put out this money and we're looking for reimbursement, and we're afraid that we're going to have the same issue that these others have had when they filed the claim to this third-party administrator.
Well, not to toot our own horn over here, but, we've got a department that's devoted to property damage claims. And what's so great about our firm is that we don't charge anything up front. It's solely based out of the recovery. And oftentimes these property damage claims allow us to get our attorney's fees from the person who's at fault for all of this. And I found these third-party administrators, and again, I'm biased, but they drag their feet and they're very slow, especially for unrepresented individuals, because they know oftentimes there's not a lot of, bite for their bark, because oftentimes people don't know how to get, how to challenge these things in a court of law. So they know if we drag our feet, what are they going to do? They're going to just keep complaining about it, but they don't know how to file a claim formally or, go through the necessary actions to get a recovery. And so I find that these third-party administrators are often, kind of taking advantage of people who are unrepresented because they know they can drag their feet. They don't like paying claims. They'd rather that money stay invested and earn interest and just delay. So, in these situations, I think it's so important to to have somebody on your side that's fighting for you, especially with the amount of people in the neighborhood who are dealing with these issues. You know, there can be power in numbers, especially with those people when they're represented.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is definitely, if you guys group together and make the claims together, I think this definitely gives you a stronger hand. When it's just one person, they can push you off to the side. Those companies are hired separately from the main company in order to just administer the claims, and their goal is to keep the claims low. That's what you got to do is group together and probably get some, representation.
Yeah, that's right. Angela, I actually had a similar situation like this as well in my condos recently in the last couple of years. And I reached out to Andrea Studi of Farah and Farah from Orlando to discuss some of these issues because I can only imagine doing a scope into this line and then realizing that it's completely punctured and by some other cable, and then having to, I don't know about your situation, but the damages involved included like jackhammering through the floor to get to the main pipe and pull out huge chunks of pipe, for me at least.
Definitely.
So did that happen to you as well?
It did.
Exactly.
The line was actually underneath the driveway. They had to take out a section of concrete in our driveway in the middle of the driveway.
Wow.
And so it's been there since the house has been built. It was built in 2006.
Gotcha.
So what happened was we have oak trees on either side of our property, and they were young at the time when the house was built.
Right.
And because that line was pierced, those tree roots, as the tree matured, actually was attracted to the water coming from that leaking pipe.
Exactly. So now you've got a puncture point, you've got tree roots, and you've got half of a driveway missing. You know what I mean? And I can understand the frustrations of this. This is something that I think, banding together, I think the gentlemen are right to band together. And I would reach out to my personal opinion. I'm not a legal expert. I am just a radio show host. And I would reach out to Andrea Studi of Farah in Orlando.
Yeah, that's all he does. And he does it throughout the entire state of Florida. And he's phenomenal at getting great recoveries in these specific situations. And there's no downside. It's not going to be, if he says for whatever reason, I can't help you, there's not going to be a bill at the end of the day. So it's a win-win, really.
He'll take a look at it and definitely within minutes, just on the phone with you, he'll talk you through some ideas.
And with the age of this, that's something you want to act on quickly. There's going to be limitations to your ability to recover, even if they're working claims right now. It's a little bit different with filing.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what the statute of limitations is, what I'm looking at?
Yeah, on a property damage claim, it's not something that Tom and I typically deal with. Anytime I've got a property damage claim, even with my own house, I send it over to Andreas. So it's, Andreas will be the one to walk you through all that stuff. I don't want to give you any bad advice, but it's all he does all day, every day. And he'll certainly be able to tell you whether there's a claim to pursue and the best way to go about doing it.
Yeah, the community page that I've been getting information from, that with other property and other homeowners, this goes back 6 years.
Right.
With
well, and I'd call about your specific issue, and then if he says that's something I can help you with, you can share that with the community page and say, hey, I've got representation. He thinks there's a claim here. Let me know if you want me to contact him with you as well. Yeah. And I think that's the best way to go about doing it.
There's a lot of factors. That's why you have to talk to him and ask and go through all those steps.
And take photos and document as much as you can, as well as your own expenses and, the inconveniences of whatever it is that you've gone through as well.
Definitely I have plenty of photos.
Yeah, good.
Well,
good job, Angela. Good luck. Yes. Give us a call back and let us know how it works out for you, okay?
It sure works.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We've got to take a quick break right now, but we'll be right back. We've got a couple more callers on the line, Maria and Andrew. We see you. We'll be back for you in just a moment after this quick break. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm Sheifalika, and I'm joined by Matt Grossman and Tom Normandeau. We have a caller on the line. Maria, you have a civil suit from 2 years ago. Tell us what's going on.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize if I break down during the story, but my daughter and her boyfriend had been together for about 5 years, and she was good with his family. They were actually going to get married after she had finished boot camp because she was in the process of joining the Navy. Mm-hmm. Well, on February 29th, it was 2 years ago, they were over at his brother's house. Them and some of their friends and their family, they were doing a bonfire and a cookout and so forth. Mm-hmm. And her boyfriend went to move the truck up away from the bonfire. Now, his occupation, what he does for a living, is he is a truck driver. So when he went to move the truck up, he did not make sure that the truck was all the way in park. So when he jumped down from the truck, from the brake pedal, it hit the gas pedal. It took the truck and it pushed it out of gear, and it ran over my daughter, throwing her into the fire. And then he had to back over her in order to get the truck off of her.
Wow.
So,
Maria, wow.
So I had hired Morgan & Morgan, and they absolutely never would call me back. They would never text me. They would never text the Bristol West, his insurance company, because he had 510 insurance on his vehicle, and they would never reach back out. His name was Mark with Bristol West. So they issued the check to my daughter Ashley's father, who she doesn't even talk to. She hasn't had a relationship in 8 years. Mm-hmm. So finally, I had to fire Morgan & Morgan and went with another a law firm. Mm-hmm. And they told me that they were opening an estate the very next day, that they were, because this was right around COVID and all this, but they would have an estate open and get things figured out. There was a $10,000 check that Morgan & Morgan was holding to be released, and that was to pay my daughter's bills, any outstanding debts and stuff like that, and which was fine and great. Luckily, she was very mature for her age. She didn't have any debt. So come to find out, they never did that. They never set up an estate. They never did. They never even requested a document. And I was told, because it happened on a residence, that the only insurance that could be claimed was the vehicle insurance. And that was 5 and 10, 5,000, which was already gone and went to her father. And then the other 10,000 had to be split between me and her father, although she had zero relationship with her father. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's the law or that's the way they wrote the estate up. I'm not sure. But I think there should be a civil suit, because she was on the homeowner's property when this occurred. They knew they were very aware of what was occurring. And not only was it a residential place, it was a business place too. That's where they worked from. Their dad owned the home. Their dad owned the company. Their dad has 4 different properties, and he does the same thing to all of them. So not only did her boyfriend have his address there, he actually worked there. So they were invited to his brother's house And that's where she got killed, and they had to get a warrant for him to even give them his blood.
Wow.
He wouldn't even give them blood.
Wow.
Because he had been drinking.
So he may have been drunk at the time this occurred?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So what's the current status of things? You'd mentioned that there was another law firm that was hired that was going to, I think you said, open up an estate or do something the next day.
Yes, the statute of limitations ran out for personal injury or negligence. The only thing I have that I could do now would be to file a civil suit, and that's still within the statute of limitations in Florida because that's 3 to 4 years, and I'm still within that 3 to 4 years. And I just need an attorney to take up the civil suit because my daughter, she deserves a memorial. She doesn't deserve to be in a vase.
I hear
We
you.
had to cremate her because I couldn't afford to bury her. My daughter deserves more than that.
Well, there's so much to this story, and there's so much to unpack here because there's a lot of things going on. It's a horrific situation, but two, you've got, prior firms that have represented, so to know what they did or didn't do. It's something that, I know our firm would want to unpack all of that and get into the nitty gritty to be able to really give you good advice. Because in a situation like this that is so complex, so devastating, it's something that we want to look at everything that's been done so that we can figure out what, if anything, can be done. So what I really, really, really want you to do is call us. I know we've got intake staff. We've got attorneys there today even. If you want to wait till Monday, you can. But call in there. Say, I was just on the radio show. I told them my story. They said I needed to call in so that I could, get everything out there. I could have somebody look at all this paperwork. And what's true of our firm with everything is we're going to look at everything. We're going to take a deep dive. And if we can help you, we're going to help you. And if we can't, we're going to tell you why, and you're not going to owe us anything. So there's no downside, but it would be, for lack of a better word, irresponsible for me to give you advice now without knowing all of that information.
Right. And it is such a sensitive and tender topic.
Absolutely.
So this is something, Maria, I've worked with these guys from this law firm for many months now doing the show, and I promise you they will take great care of you and hear you out. And I commend you for the strength just to call in to the show today.
Absolutely.
It's my condolences. Maria, this is, as a mother, I can only imagine the kind of pain you're going through. And I'm sure.
Yeah, it's awful. There's nothing. Time heals, but you're never going to forget.
Of course not.
And then when it comes to find out, nothing was ever done.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting double stabbed.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's in these types of situations where we want to see what if anything, can we do? Because these types of catastrophic situations are so heartbreaking, and we want to help. At the end of the day, that's why this firm was started, was to help people in these horrible situations. And so if there's something that can be done, we'll do it. We absolutely will. And so I beg you really to give us a call.
Yeah,
let us look into it and see what we can do.
Our producer, Daniel, can take your phone number, so don't hang up the phone right now. We can grab that, pass that along. Feel free to reach out to the law firm today or tomorrow, but we're going to go ahead and take your information on the show today. Is that okay with you, Maria?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank
fantastic.
you so much for calling in. I'm just so sorry for
Absolutely.
your loss.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we will, it's moments like this on Legal Live that make me love doing this show. We feel for everyone who calls in, and thank you so much to everyone who did call in today. Well, I guess that's it for the end of the show. We've got the music wrapping up, but you can find us again next Saturday at noon on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Thank you for listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah.